Okay, looks like we're live, so we'll get started. Good morning. It's November 6th, 2020, and I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for joining us for CSEA negotiations. And it's great to see you all this morning. Let's just do, for the record, go around again and introduce ourselves, our role, and I don't have any good icebreaker for this morning. All right, just introduce yourself and your role. I'm Mila Shepard. I serve the district as the Chief of Human Resources. Lisa. I saw that the symbol went for your mute button went off finally, but we don't hear you. So we'll go around. Oh, you keep messing with it. Let's go to Paul.
Hi, thanks, Mila. I think we're gonna have to reevaluate Lisa's computer skills. This is twice now. Anyways, Paul Williams, CSEA president. I was gonna wear my Bob Ross wig this morning, but I couldn't find it. So.
That would have been special. Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Stone. I'm the HR director.
Rob.
I'm Rob Keeney. I'm CSEA vice president.
Lynn.
I'm Lynn Pritchard. I'm the treasurer for CSEA and office manager at Eagleview Elementary.
Julie.
I'm Julie Rodriguez. I'm the bookkeeper at Legacy High School.
Tony.
Tony Vasquez, Prairie Hills Base Director.
Igor. We're gonna have to reassess your skills too. Try it now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Igor Petrovich, Director of Transportation.
Matt.
No pressure following the unmuting, right? Matt Haviland, Principal, Wood Glen Elementary.
And let's go back to Lisa.
Okay, let me try this again. Now can you hear me? Okay, Lisa Hart, Resource Manager for Nutrition Services and Base. I'm trying to use headphones because I've got two kids remote learning here and they're messing me all up.
All of the joys of remote learning and working from home.
I know I'm isolated and actually they love remote learning and they're doing well, but I'm just like trying to find a space is what's difficult.
Yeah, I think so. Everybody feels your pain at a certain level, I think. So, well, thanks all for joining us this morning, and we will jump right into our agenda for today. We published an agenda. It's in the shared drive under the agendas and minutes section, I think it's called, or just the agendas section. And Nicole has agreed to take some minutes for us. So if you want to track the notes that are being taken for this morning's meeting, you could pull open the document dated 2020-1106. And Nicole will track for us. Thanks for that. And I'm going to refer back to our minutes from last week to just pick up where we left off. I believe that we have we agreed at the last meeting that we would review the proposed salary schedule conversations. We'd review any draft language and we'd review the salary schedule MOA if the salary schedule conversation was ready for that to happen. So the draft language referred to the conversation we had about the 110. And so Paul, if that's okay with you, I'd like to just sort of jump into that a little bit. So we had a great conversation and I really appreciated everybody bringing up the points they brought up, pros, cons, considerations of an expansion of that 110 option for all employees, not just those eligible for the stipend. As we walked away from that conversation and did a little bit of further reflection and conferring with the Board of Education, and it really felt very much like the point we brought up last week about having just initiated this in the last round of negotiations, and the sort of the fairness around doing that, and then and then suddenly changing it. It just, upon reflection, the district really feels like we'd like to let this ride as it is for at least another year or so. We think that the points that were brought up were really excellent ones, but it feels a little too soon to separate it when we just negotiated it, and we'd like to give it an opportunity to just see how it plays for the next year, bring it up in the next session or two, and consider it later. So I think it was a good conversation. I think it raised a lot of really good points, but upon further reflection, really feel like now's not the time to engage in that. So, I just wanted to say that. And Paul, I don't know, or if you or anybody else on the team has any response or reaction to that.
No, I just, I would just say, thanks to the district for continuing to engage in that conversation with us. I know it's been a long conversation, as we talked about last week, to try and get that implemented for our folks. So we'll just continue to push on and keep marching in that direction, and hope that someday we can get to an agreement there and bring the 110 without ties to the retirement stipend. So, but we are encouraged by the conversation, and know that in the future we'll be able to accomplish something there.
Yeah, I think there's definitely interest in continuing the conversation. It just doesn't feel like now is quite the right time. So I don't have any language, obviously, then attached to that for review. So I think that Paul, do you want to look at some money items first? I have a cost of contract item in the shared drive. I also have some cost estimates. Do you want to talk about your committee, the salary schedule committee first, or do you want to look at money first?
We can talk about the committee. Committee met again, and we're getting really close. We're still running a bunch of different scenarios, making sure that we're doing our due diligence there. The committee is getting close. I think if we were forced to make a decision today, I think we would push forward, make a recommendation on option 2, is kind of the one that everyone's leaning towards right now. But they're just not ready to pull the trigger and say that, yes, this is the one. They still want to do a little bit more due diligence and do a little bit more scenario work to see how people are placed into that. So, but we're hoping, and our goal for our group, we kind of set for ourselves, is to be prepared to make a recommendation at our next negotiating session, which is, I think, a week and a half from now, something like that. It's on the Monday following the next one.
Yeah, it's a week from Monday, the 16th, right?
So our goal will be to proceed and make a recommendation at that meeting.
Is there any information that would be helpful to the committee that we can provide from HR?
Yeah, I reached out to Darren. Darren provided some stuff coming back. We were able to go through, look at that stuff, and that was helpful. Right now, I think we're just digging into it and trying to put positions over it and saying, how does this position transfer over? What does it look like? How do you end up? Those types of things, career earnings. All those things are kind of what they're kind of digging through. So I don't know that it's just any more information. I think it's just more studying and looking at it, I think.
Okay.
But if we do need something, Darren's always really good about, jumping in and giving us what we need. So.
Yeah, big shout out to Darren on our team. He's the HR operations manager and always on it. So, are there any questions from members of either team? Any comments?
The only comment I want to make is when we meet with our committee, this is kind of a big step. So people want to make sure they get it right. We've been used to the old matrix for a lot of years, which people, dig into that matrix constantly. So they just want to feel secure about their decision and make sure that they're making the right move. So like Paul says, we're plugging in different positions, different grade levels, and seeing how it plays out. So we're getting close to the committee having a good comfort level with it. So. Yeah,
but it's important. It is a big step, no denying that. And so we appreciate the time and careful thought you're giving it. Well, let me share with you just a resource, just an informational document that's in our drive. If you go to Classified Negotiations Fall 2020 and you open up, I think it's the only PDF, the little red icon, Cost of Contract Fall 2020. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I just opened it up as a Google Doc and that wasn't pretty. It lost all its formatting. Just open it up as a PDF. So basically, this is an informational item that we've typically included just for your background, and it details the costs of the provisions of the different articles in the master agreement. So, for example, on the first line, Article 11 has several items referring to the district providing insurance benefits of one sort or another, and you see because nutrition services and base do have some separate funding sources, we do have columns dedicated just to those employee groups, and then all other employee groups, and then we have a total. So about almost 12%, 11.93% of the total amount paid to classified employee group is represented by benefits, and that's like $8.1 million. So are you tracking along with me on what that would show you? So Article 11.7 talks about the provision of EAP services, and that's about $45,000 for prorated for the classified employees of our district. Obviously, EAP is available to administrators and certified as well. And as we go on down, you see the cost of the uniform and boot allowance, boot jacket and tool rather, career service stipend. That career service stipend in Article 13 represents 3.64% of the total payroll or the total pay amount. $2.4 million is set aside for that. So that's, those stipends are not a small encumbrance in our budget. You see sick leave bank represented, you see salary schedule. The salaries are the big ticket. Obviously, it's about $55 million roughly. The exact number is there. You can go on down, you can see leadership pay, professional growth, the amounts that are encumbered for vacation for 12-month employees and temporary leave paid out upon separation. We budget a certain amount for that. So total cost to contract, all the things that are provided for classified employees, $67.9 million. Do you have any questions about that? Any comments about that? Any questions or comments?
No, I think that's important information to have for people to understand, the cost side of having a contract such as ours and the benefits that are in it. And, at the end of the day, there's a cost to that. So I think that's important information for people to have, just so it's helps bring into perspective, that cost to have the classified staff.
Yeah, and I think for me, what's interesting is like we often just look at the salary schedule that we've just been talking about, and we say that's that's what the district's paying. But there's a total compensation package when you work for the district. Paid leave, temporary leave. If you're a 12-month employee and you have vacation. If you, the professional development stipends that are available to classified employees, the $1,400, up to $1,400. The leadership pay, if you do other activities, sick leave bank, the availability of that, and then of course the health and dental and vision benefits that are available to employees. So yeah, it's all part of what it costs in the whole package. So that's a resource for you. It's just a reference document. So I guess I'd like to bring up another kind of a related to the cost of contract item that has to do with sick leave bank. So as you may know, a reconciliation of sick leave bank hours happens annually, and it's ongoing right now with our finance department. So I just want to put sort of a marker on the idea that we will have to revisit in the coming year what the reconciliation of the sick leave bank hours is, and they're going back and looking all the way back in time. Traditionally, this reconciliation has lived here in human resources. Finance is taking more of a lead role and looking back at some other accounts and really digging into the long history of the sick leave bank. And so we're going to want to bring all that information to you and talk about that and figure out what that does or doesn't mean. And so I don't know whether we need to have any kind of a formal committee or anything, but I do want to just say that we will share that reconciliation and have an opportunity for questions and answers, and then bring that to probably next year's negotiations if there's anything that needs to be resolved in any kind of negotiated fashion. But so that's happening right now, and the results of that are not in time for this negotiation session, but I don't want to come and go without mentioning that there is a reconciliation going on, and it does appear that there might be some need to rebalance, but I have no idea the magnitude of it yet.
Yeah, that's fine. We can talk in that. I mean, we can have that discussion in our sick leave bank committee when we talk about sick leave bank guidelines and stuff in the spring, and talk about if adjustments need to be made, and then make a recommendation, I guess, to negotiations for the following year would work.
Yeah, that actually sounds like the just the right process for that. Thanks, Paul. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Shall we look? Let me share some numbers about salary schedule with you. So I shared the cost of contract, and so I'd like to share a draft document with you that, let me see, what did I title it? Nope, let's see. Oh, it's in the new salary schedule information folder. That's why I couldn't find it. I filed it. So look in the folder called new salary schedule info, and look at the Excel, at the spreadsheet, CSEA summary of cost for salary options. Okay, looks like many of you are there with me. There are two tabs at the bottom, one for option 2 and one for option 3. But I just want to walk you through some of the numbers as the district sees them and tabulates them, make sure we're on the same page with that. So based on the classified scattergram that was run on October 1st, and I'm just going to point out that the numbers, you had a summary document when we first shared the 3 options with you. And that was a snapshot that was taken, I believe it was in August. And the, the classified staff changes. There's turnover and churn as people resign or get hired. And so the salary numbers do change and shift every day, but certainly between August and October, there are differences. We actually do have fewer employees right now. People have resigned. We haven't necessarily replaced, or we're having trouble replacing because the market is so tight. So I just want to point out, if you're seeing differences in numbers, it's because of the times when the snapshots get taken. But this is October 1st. And Darren ran the salaries on October 28th. So he was looking at roles and he was looking at the salaries as of October 28th. So total salaries for the classified employee group are 54.7 million. This is before para and Medicare taxes. So this is before the benefits, which add up to 22.35% more. So the cost to the district, multiply this and add another 22.35%. But we'll just deal in the salary numbers because that's, I think, traditionally what we've dealt with. So the district in its budgeting model, you're familiar with the fact that we always allocate and set aside a similar amount that was bargained with the certified group, and that was 1.7%. And so in the budgeting, we set aside 1.7% of the CSEA payroll. So that's $930,216.24. That's the number that's listed there. To date, we've already implemented some market adjustments, and there is a bit of a district budget for this. And so I show this number here, but it is covered by what the district already had budgeted for market adjustments. Last year, recall that we made some big market adjustments and the district hadn't budgeted for all of those. And we had to consider it as part of the compensation package for CSEA. But, so far we're within the amount that was already budgeted. And so I'm just showing it. And you can see at the bottom, there's an asterisk, and you can see at the bottom how we got to that 141,409. We've adjusted the health aides, we've adjusted the transition service coaches, and then in accordance with the annual benchmark survey from last year, we did adjust various other roles to the tune of about $29,000. So does that make sense? That match about what you're thinking so far? Okay. So far, what the district has budgeted is just over $1 million. If you have the 930 and then the amount we've budgeted for market adjustments, that's adding up to about $1.07 million. Now, if we look at what we can spend or what we're thinking we may have to spend to invest in the new salary schedule, similar to how we invested in the certified salary schedule a couple of years ago, there was a one-time cost and we knew it. And so if we use option 2, the one-time cost is going to be just very nearly $600,000, $597,530. So this brings the total of salaries to $55,316,000. So you take that 54.7 million and you add this one-time cost to move everybody. Now the salary package is like 55.3 million. Tracking along with me? And if we then, once we've moved everybody onto the new salary schedule, if we give everybody a step, which we very much want to do, the whole point of the game is, try to reward a step each year. The step is going to cost $983,754. That's 1.78% of the 55 million number. Let me just pause there for a second. And that's a little different than the summary sheet I showed you originally. Remember, we were looking at option 2 and it was a little less than that, but this is a factor of those employees who aren't with us and the fact that the percentage is a little greater because we just have fewer employees, but it's hovering right around that 1.7, and that was always our intention in building the schedule this way. We talked about wanting to restore that 2013 step, and the cost of that before benefits is nearly $109,000. That's shown here. So, and that, that replacing that step is obviously not as expensive on this new salary schedule, and that's what makes it doable, frankly. That's was part of the rub last year, was this is not as pricey to move a step here, but it gets people back to the step where they should have been, and that was really what we wanted to do. Grand total here, $1.69 million. So we had only, parity with certified would be 930,000. But these one-time costs and the moving on the new schedule, it's about an extra $1 million. Well, not quite an extra million, more like an extra 700,000 or 800,000. But the district knew that it needed to invest, and it wanted to invest to move you guys onto a more sustainable salary schedule in the long run. So that's the total thinking on money. And I wonder what questions you have, either district team or CSEA team.
So not so much as a question as a statement. The certified negotiations was they settled on a step, right? A step with no cost of living. Is that kind of?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then that step would be a 1.7 equivalent to their salary schedule, or their step is worth approximately 1.7 on their side.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the move, the one-time costs to get moved onto the new salary schedules are really they sort of take up what would have been COLA. I guess if you want to look at it that way, there's just only so much money to go around. So I can take you to the other tab, the option 3 tab. It's not very different. But so this one, an overall cost of 1.69 million. If you flip to the option 3 tab, you see an overall cost of 1.646 million. So just slightly less, because the cost of placement is slightly less. Then the overall step size is just slightly less, an average of 1.73% instead of 1.76%, 0.03%. Not a huge amount, but just the differences tally up this way. Any questions, comments?
No, I think this is good information for us to have, and we'll digest it as a team and dig through the numbers and compare and contrast and all those things.
Yeah.
So my initial reaction is thanks for the presentation, and we'll look at it and see where we're at.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. Okay. So then I think the other thing that is left over from last time would just be I just want to look at this summary doc. There's back in the classified negotiations fall 2020 drive, there's a document called Summary Memoranda of Agreement. and Cindy just took, what was in our notes and just documented next to each MOA what our decision was. Most of them are date update only, just changing the dates. And then the salary schedule review is just remaining for next week. And it would be helpful if your committee would talk about what you want to do with that piece of language. If you came ready to think about, not salary schedule review, not that MOA. I'm thinking about the article where we talk about placement. How many steps of previous service credit to give, beg your pardon. That's a different thing. But yeah, but all the rest of these are a couple of them to be deleted. Some of them no change at all. So does that at a look capture what you recall from last time?
It does, yeah. On that one, Mila, I think we'll probably, that's actual language. We'll have to go back into that article on the salary schedule placement.
Yeah, that's article yeah.
We'll have to go in there and make a change in that. That will be something I think that will pair, with a recommendation to the salary schedule. I think that'll pair with a recommendation on that as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be the same committee, but it'll be, there'll be a double recommendation there to be able to talk through that. So.
Perfect. Yeah, no, and then this group will negotiate it and finalize it. Yeah. Yeah, but if as they're thinking about it, and since they've spent so much time really thinking about it, their recommendation would certainly be helpful. Okay, so I think that as far as I recall from our last meeting, kind of circles back to anything we left hanging or needing, new attention. Have I missed anything?
No, I think we're close to where we're. I think we're where we need to be, and I think we've covered everything that we had last week. So then I think the homework for this week is to continue to meet for us to be able to digest the monies available for future, increase. And then dive into the salary schedule placement language. And I think that's all we have left out there. And then just sign off on the dates and that type of thing, do all those TAs, which is more of a clerical thing.
Yeah. So, okay, well, it feels like a really short and sweet meeting, but I don't think there's any need to belabor it if there's nothing to talk about. So does that make anybody sad?
No, I have plenty of work I could do today. So
we all do.
Yes. So
I think we all do. So, if there's nothing further, we'll adjourn negotiations for today at 8:43 a.m. And we will reconvene on Monday, November 16th at 8 a.m.
perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.